Heyo, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to MadBrax's VR Reviews. I am your host, MadBrax, and today we're going to be covering the game that I've been waiting months for. After the Fall is one of my most anticipated games of the year, because Left 4 Dead means a lot to me. I used to play it with my brother all the time back on the Xbox 360, and it was one of my favorite games of all time. And getting to play a game like that in VR is really exciting for me. So does After the Fall manage to fulfill that dream of reliving those memories in VR? Let's find all of that out and more on my review of After the Fall for MetaQuest 2. Alright, let's start out with performance. Performance is extremely important in VR because it's a key factor for motion sickness, so you should always try to maximize the amount of stability in your game all the time, and thankfully, After the Fall manages it. Even in the most intense situations, I only had one or two actual hangs in terms of performance. And since an update has been pushed after originally playing the game, I haven't had any stutters or hangs at all, even in the most intense of situations. So performance obviously has to get a 5 out of 5 from me. From what I have seen with gameplay videos on PC, the game looks great over there, but I was a little bit worried at how the game was going to look visually over on the Quest platform, seeing as there can be like hundreds of enemies running around all the time. So, how does it stack up to the PC version? Well, surprisingly well. Through some graphics comparisons that I've seen on the internet right now, I can definitely tell they spent a lot of time making sure that the game looks as close as possible to the PC version. That does mean they scrap some flashlights, but they brighten up the environment to make sure it doesn't impact the gameplay. And they just made everything look as close and nice as possible to the PC version. And in that aspect, they did a phenomenal job. I don't think there's much I can say that I would have wanted other than the flashlights on the Quest version. They did a phenomenal job getting it running and making it look as good as possible with the heavy amount of enemies that are on screen at all times. Visuals are going to get a 5 out of 5 from me. Next up, of course, we have gameplay. Gameplay in this game is the most important factor. They need to really make sure you capture that Left 4 Dead experience in VR in a way that feels good. And I think they did a great job with that. I have a couple of gripes with the gameplay that I'm going to talk about, but first, here's the good stuff. The gunplay feels absolutely spectacular. Playing around with friends is as fun as it possibly could be in VR, and upgrading that sweet gear feels great and rewarding. Dropping an attachment onto a gun feels phenomenal and natural. It's just great to go out, grab the floppy disk, get new collectibles, scavenge around for healing items and ammo, and just keep yourself alive while hundreds of enemies are running at you. It's insane, and when you have 4 people, it's an absolute blast on the highest difficulties. But there's some bad parts. Let's start with that multiplayer. The multiplayer for the most part feels great. However, there is one weapon in the game that kinda completely ruins the experience for a lot of people. Basically, if you're in a PvP match and you pick up the shotgun, it's a pretty much guaranteed win. If you're even somewhat close to an enemy, it's a one-shot kill and they don't have any time to react. It's super unbalanced. But it is fun once you look past the fact that it's not going to be very competitive because there's no time to react with that shotgun in play. It's just grab the shotgun, shoot a guy, you win, basically. That being said, the multiplayer other than that is fun. There is one map, I believe, that does not have the shotgun on it, so if you play on that one, you shouldn't have to worry about it. However, if you plan on playing this game solo, I don't recommend picking it up. The AI in it is terrible. There is public matchmaking if you want to jump in with some randoms to alleviate the problems with the AI, but above Survivor difficulty, which is the easiest, they don't stand a chance against the hordes of Snowbreed that are coming at you. You really need other players if you want to beat these missions on higher difficulties. It's almost impossible to do without them. And now let's talk about the launch content. We've already got a little bit of a roadmap of what's upcoming, like a horde mode, which thank God I wanted that at launch when I started playing this, but it's okay to see that it is coming. More multiplayer maps and one new Harvest Run map for free that'll all be coming in the coming months. But what there is right now is 2 PvP maps and 5 Harvest Run maps with 4 difficulties. Now that's cool, and all 5 maps is fine, but when they aren't procedurally generated at all, they can really get stale quick, and they don't feel all that different. So 5 maps feels like a lot less than there actually is. And by far the biggest offense that I've seen with the gameplay here is that they introduce every single type of zombie right away. It would have been great to see if on survivor difficulty they slowly gave you a new type of zombie each mission just to spice up the feeling of progression. They could have enabled all of them straight out the gate for the nightmare or veteran difficulties, and it would have just felt a lot better and more natural progression than just throw them all at you right away. So once you see the first mission's worth of enemies, that's all you get. It's a little bit annoying, but it doesn't get in the way of the fun. Just, you start running out of content really quick. You can beat the game in its entirety in maybe 10 hours if you go and unlock every single attachment for every gun, but at most you're probably going to be getting about 3 hours out of the different runs going through them once. And sure, the game is definitely built for replayability over the content at launch, but I don't know if people are going to stick around long enough. That being said, the gameplay is really fun. I do like it a lot, and I do think it's worth buying the game just for it, even if you don't get a ton of content right away. So with that said, I'm going to give the gameplay a 4 out of 5. There's a little bit of a shortage on content right now, but what is there feels great and is super fun and pretty replayable as well. So when more updates come out, I will be excited to play them and check out new content for the game. Next up, we have the audio. The audio is a topic that you have to hear for yourself to really judge. So I'm going to play you a couple of clips before I talk about it.
Now it's packed with snowbreed for us to harvest. Keep an eye out for that missing supply team.
Item purchased.
Found a booster.
Please stand clear of the doors.
Gotta reload.
Now that you've heard some of the audio, what do you think? Personally, I think there is a lot of really nice touches in here, and even though it doesn't sound the greatest I've ever heard, they did a lot of time and effort into just adding some nice little details here and there in making the audio sound really nice. So I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. It's not the greatest you're ever gonna hear, and it's not music to your ears, but what is here is really nice. There's some small details that'll make you really happy, and just, it's really good. But with that out of the way, it's time for the full score. Personally, I think After the Fall has a lot of potential in the future, and it showcases a lot of what's to come with future updates. And right now you get maybe 10 hours at most of content to play through before new updates drop, and I think that's okay. It might be a little bit of a steep price for some people, coming in at about $40. But the amount of fun you can have with friends in this game, and just playing in Publix, if you find a good squad of people, it's unparalleled for me, really. That Left 4 Dead gameplay style is really cool to experience in VR, and scavenging around for stuff, upgrading your guns, going through those missions more and more with a little bit higher power weapons, and dominating the zombies that you really struggled with before. It's really fun. Well, I do think there needs to be some more content for me to recommend this to everyone. I think fans of Arizona Sunshine and fans of zombie games in general will really enjoy this title. So I'm going to give it a 3.8 out of 5. There is some shortage on content here that I'm gonna say wait for if you want a ton of gameplay right now, but it is worth picking up if you are a fan of VR shooters and VR zombie games. It's a really good title, and I can't wait to see what they do with it in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit subscribe, turn your notifications on, and like the video. Really helps out the channel and lets me get more reviews like this out to you guys. Anyway, have a great night, day, afternoon, whatever time it is for you. I'll see you in the next video. MadBrax out.